morning, everyone. It might actually not be morning for some of you, but it is morning for me, and it is a good one because I am doing an advice video today, and I actually haven't done an advice video in a really long time, and it's something that I missed, so I wanted to do one today. I asked you guys on Twitter and Instagram to leave me some of your problems and questions you had about life, and I'm going to do my best to hopefully not steer you in the wrong direction and give you horrible advice. We're hopefully gonna not do that. Okay, so Cloudy Franta asked me, how can I tell someone no without being rude? And then she used this emoji where it's the girl in the pink dress and she's like no rudeness. I love that emoji so much. It's got so much sass. So anyways, I am like the queen of telling people no. And sometimes I come across a little bitchy because I'm always saying no, but you gotta do you. And if you don't want to do something, and it's whether it's going out with a guy that asks you, or hanging out with your friends, or wearing a certain thing your friends want to wear, you know, like pink on Wednesdays or something. If you want to say no, say no. If you don't want to do something, don't do it, because you're going to be a lot happier that way. And that, it sounds really selfish, and I don't like to be a selfish person, and I don't recommend you being a selfish person, but if your friends are like, oh my god, we're all going to the movies tonight, do you want to go? And you're just sitting there like, no, I would much rather watch YouTube videos and cuddle with my cat. Then watch YouTube videos and cuddle with your cat. You have no reason to have to hang out with people. You don't have an obligation. You just do you. Say no, be honest, be kind about it, but be honest. UXTuber asked me, what do you do when you feel like you have no one to turn to? This is a tough one. I often, when I find that I feel like I have nobody to turn to, it's more of a me issue. So I'm like, I've got people that I know in my life that I can talk to, but I actually convince myself that I don't have anyone to talk to and I have no one to turn to. That's what usually happens for me when I feel that way. Because if you really think about it, I do not know your personal, who asked me this question, I don't know your life situation, but if you go to school, or you have family, or somebody in your life that is willing to at least talk to you, you can turn to them. It might be scary, it might be terrifying, and you know what? At the end of the day, they might not care, being totally honest. But if they don't care, keep trying, and you'll find somebody who does. Sometimes when we're feeling alone and lonely, it is all down to us to make the effort to work really hard to find somebody who can be there for you. Friendships are like anything else in life. You have to work at them, you have to work hard. Like, you don't just get your dream job right away with like out doing anything to work for it. Just like you don't get to go to school and get good grades without actually doing the work. So it's the same with friendships. You have to go out, find people, work at it, put yourself out there, make yourself vulnerable, and it's scary, but you guys can do it. And if you feel like you don't have anyone to turn to, just start trying to turn to people. And if you're not getting the response you want, maybe like try forums online, or like support groups for whatever, like online. There's so many, like, not like support groups, but you know what I mean. There's forums online, there's people, there's, you know, the internet, it can be scary, or it's like, oh, don't meet strangers online, but let's get honest, it's 2014, we all make friends online, so I don't know, the internet's a nice place to turn to when you need some friends. What are some stress and anxiety relieving techniques that you recommend? Okay, speaking as somebody who is very, very anxious, and I deal with anxiety on a daily basis, it's not to the point where I regularly have panic attacks, but I do have the brain wiring for somebody who is just always anxious, anticipating the worst, stressing out about situations that aren't even happening yet, and worrying about everything. And it sucks, and people think you're a freak sometimes, and it's not fun. So what I usually end up doing is I just keep it on the inside, and it just like builds up even more when you're anxious about something and you don't talk about it. So what I've started to do is, one, I go to therapy every single week, but that's not always available for everyone. So some other things I do is when I'm stressed or I'm anxious, I try to fake it till I make it. And that sounds weird, but if I'm worried that people aren't gonna like me when I go to a party, I just have to, before I go, I'm just like, you know what, they're gonna like me, they're gonna love me. I say the opposite of what I'm afraid of. So your words have a lot of power to your brain when you say things out loud. So actually saying out loud, like, I'm gonna be okay, people are gonna like me, I'm cool, I'm calm, and it's like just having those keywords that you tell yourself out loud actually helps if you do it on a daily basis. You just literally say the opposite of how you feel, which sounds a little weird, but it actually helps me a lot. And I actually find myself being anxious a lot when I'm driving or riding in the car with my friends and they're driving, because I get scared that a car accident's gonna happen, and it's something that causes me a lot of anxiety. And what I do is I just shut my eyes and I focus on my breathing and I say, I'm gonna be okay. I'm not gonna get in a car accident. I'm gonna be fine. And I just sit there and I repeat those things and it calms me down. So yeah, that's some things I do for anxiety. How do you deal with being friend-zoned? This is tricky because when I friend-zone a guy, I get mad when he doesn't want to be my friend anymore. I'm like, how dare you only want to be friends with me if we're gonna like be hooking up and dating, like ugh. But then when I get friend zoned by a guy, I'm like, screw you, I don't want to talk to you. If you don't want to date me and I'm not good enough for you, then you don't get to be in my life. But I feel like that's not the right reaction at all, so please don't ever follow my example. If I were to follow my own ideal advice for what to do when you get friend zoned, you just have to learn what you're okay with. If you're like head over heels in love with somebody and there is no chance, it might be good to back away. You don't have to cut them out of your life, but don't give them your attention and like your adoring priority #1 attention if they're not giving you the same thing, because you're just not doing anyone a favor. You're gonna feel crappy. It's just not gonna be a fun thing. I would say if you're friend zoned, if you can handle being friends, then be friends. But if you're finding that it's too hard, don't be afraid to step away from the situation. Lou Maybe wants to know how to cope with friends being passive aggressive. It's messing with my mind. Okay, so I actually am in a situation where I deal with someone on a regular basis who is extremely passive aggressive, and it drives me up the wall. Like it's so stupid, it pisses me off, and I'm just like, oh my god, can you stop being so passive aggressive and just confront how you feel? So the way you do that is you just be as straightforward as you can be. You say, like if somebody is like beating around the bush and doing things to make you upset on purpose because they're being passive aggressive, you just have to be as direct as possible. The only way to counteract passive aggressive is to be directly aggressive. And I don't mean aggressive in like a physical way or like a mean way. I just mean a direct way, because then they can no longer avoid it. If you call them out on their shit, then they can't do anything about it. Like they can't be passive aggressive in the moment if you're just calling them out. So yeah, call them out, be direct, be honest. They can't really do much about it then, because you're taking away their opportunity to be passive. Alright, and the last question I'm answering today is from Skylark42 on Instagram, and they say, how do you get over the fear of not being able to reach your goals or follow your dreams? I struggle with this, and I was wondering if you could give me some advice. This is something that I actually used to struggle with a lot. I would say from the ages of 17 to like 22, maybe even 23. I'm not going to tell you my real age. And no, I'm not telling you how old I am now. You can Google that shit. Okay, so I used to deal with this for like probably a solid 5 years, where I was just terrified that I wouldn't be able to reach my goals. I, on a regular basis, had this driving fear that I would become homeless one day. And some of you guys might laugh, but it is totally real. I used to think, what if everything falls apart with YouTube and I can't get another job and I'm actually homeless? Like what if this happens? What if me and Beta and Kappa are having to sit on the side of the road and be like, people please give my dogs food and me food? I used to think about this every single day, and I was so terrified that it would actually hinder me from working, hinder me from pursuing my dreams, hinder me from trying hard, because all I could focus on was the fear of failure. And that is something that I just had to, on a regular basis, start changing. You know, like I said earlier, fake it till you make it. Do the opposite of what you're feeling, what you're afraid of. And I had to start, instead of focusing on what I didn't want, I just had to focus on what I did want. And I had to let my fear of not succeeding push me towards success. So I don't know if that makes sense, but basically, if you're afraid of something, use it as motivation to never get to the place you don't want to be. I really hope that helps and makes sense. So anyways, give this video a thumbs up if you guys like it. I haven't done an advice video in a long time, so I feel like I have a lot of new subscribers that haven't really been with me doing advice videos, so let me know. And I actually want to turn one of the questions around and ask you guys, so you can talk about it below. What do you do when you feel like you don't have anyone that you can turn to? Because I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. And yeah, you guys are amazing. I deeply love you. You're so incredible. Every single one of you are good enough. You're amazing, and you are worth the people in your lives' attention, love, and affection. I can't tell you guys that enough. So yeah, hope you have an awesome day, and I will see you guys soon with an all-new video. Bye-bye. That was such an awkward goodbye. I was like washing the car or something.